Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, to another episode of Awesome Walkers. Here, once again, we have someone who is creating a difference in the world that we live in by doing what they are really passionate about, who I call the Awesome Walkers. Our guest today is Ahmed Kayhan. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you, Ahmed?
Good, thanks. Still alive. Yourself?
Still kicking.
Still kicking, yes.
I was going through your profile and I saw that you did your graduation from Istanbul, and I'm
Yes.
guessing you're Turkish?
I'm Turkish, yes. I was born and raised in Turkey until I left Turkey 19 years ago, which is long time ago, 27. Yeah, until 26, 7, I was based in Turkey, born and raised in a small town until I was 18, east of Ankara. And
Mhm.
then went to college in Istanbul, Istanbul Technical University. I was graduated. Yeah,
And what did you graduate in?
managerial engineering, management engineer. I'm a management engineer. It's a very different term. I'm an engineer of management. Well, it's a program created by the Istanbul Technical University years back. It was the only one. Now I think there are a couple of them. Istanbul Tech is the one of the oldest universities in Turkey. I think 1777 originally started.
Mm.
As a more it's called Mühendishane for the army, engineering school for the army. Then converted into all the other science, but mainly an engineering technical school. So they created this program after the Second World War. Lots of faculty professors moved from Germany to Turkey. Lots of Jewish and escaping from the professors escaping from the war or the Nazis moved to Turkey, US. This is created by a couple of those professors who saw there's a very big gap between the management and the engineering in like factories or industrial zones, who can create this layer, understands the language of the management, finance, marketing, sales, strategy, and etc., and also understands the language of the engineers as well, and then can interpret. So it's a very interesting program. I really liked it. Actually, it helped me a lot in my life. But it gives you a very deep dive analytical skills in terms of you get the until the end of the second, third year, you get very deep core engineering classes with other engineers. That's really from mechanical, the civil to the electric, computer engineering. Then the last 2 years, you focus on your measure base, finance,
Mm.
marketing, HR, and strategy, and etc. Most of our graduates became financiers. They went into the banking sector and everything, and or international companies. And it's a dual program. It was very good. I was very lucky to choose that program and ended up there with a good cohort of people. They select from the. This is the thing, when you select from the top 1% of every year there is a university exam in Turkey. So similar to most of the other countries. So you do work hard for about 2-3 years during your high school years, get ready for it, and you get if you do well, like A levels or the MYPs, IBBs, GCSEs, etc. This is a little bit more harsh. Like in 3 hours, you need to decide, and you're going to. So they selected from the top 1% of the students going into the program and put those kids into a similar environment with the right teachers. It's generally it's a very good program. It can come up if you have the faculty right, if you have the curriculum right, of course, definitely. But if you have
What?
a school with the foundations like 200 years, generally you're not that wrong.
Yeah. And what made you choose this? Were you choosing this because you were not sure whether you should go for engineering or management? So let me do a combination, or was
No,
it
no, it
precise
was
reason?
my number one choice.
Wow.
So there were literally because I was the number one student in my school.
Hmm.
My school number was one as well because the person who get the one never graduated. So I was like the earliest in, but also I got the highest scores and everything. But I could go to most of the programs, computer engineering, industrial engineering. There are lots of kids from my school. Friends went to medical, generally very high level. But I wanted to specifically this because I was very social. I was in the basketball team. I was in the debate team. I like reading a lot. We used to go to libraries, select different books and everything. And my social sciences score is also very high. I wanted something my second choice was industrial engineering. So they were very close to each other as well. That's why I wanted to do something with management, with the social sciences, along with one foot on the maths and physics and the mathematical sciences, basically. And it worked. I was very lucky to go in there. It was one program in Turkey that time, and they only select 100 out of like 120,000 students. So it was designed around the principles that I expected. It was very technical at the very beginning. Then you go into more social science and everything. And of course, and you also do create your own chances by like internships, what you do in the extracurricular time. And they give you the chance if you grab them. It's a good program. Big city, Istanbul. One of my father's friends told me when I was doing that, he said, like, when you go to college will give you one. But Istanbul, if you know how to get it, Istanbul will give you two. So you need to get it.
Two meaning?
No, he said, like, if you go to college, the degree will give you one. But if you are in Istanbul going to a college, Istanbul will give you two if you know how to grab it.
Yeah.
Like 2 life points or 2 whatever
Yes.
currencies are like.
2016, I really wanted to move to Istanbul. It is, even today, it is my favorite place in the world. And that's when they were trying to overthrow Erdogan, and there was so many uprising that happened. And then life redirected me, and I'm happy that happened for myself, even though I was not happy for what happened to Turkey. But at that point of time, but yeah, I hold Turkey very close to my heart. I love that city so much. I love
Where
Turkey
are you
as a
from originally?
India.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to live in
very
China.
common lifestyles, very common
I used to live in China
family
for eight
values.
years. I used to live in China
Okay.
for 8 years, and then when I saw Turkey after that, I used to call Turkey the halal China. You have all the good energy and the vibe of a thriving economy. What made you leave Istanbul and explore the world outside? Uh, what is it that you found on the outside that you couldn't find within Istanbul or within Turkey as a market or
No,
economy?
I started my career. I was right after the college. I won a scholarship. I went to UK. I lived in Newcastle for a year, did internship with Isaac, and also attended programs in the Newcastle University with Arthur Anderson, global entrepreneurship program, and also did an internship with Oxfam they had a financial management center in Newcastle, managing the Oxfam stores that doing the charity and all this stuff. Right after the college, 1999, and when I did that one, I realized that the world is not only what you perceive of. There is a different world than what you can go through. It was the first time I was living abroad. First time I got onto a plane, 1999, literally, and left the country, and which was great. It was a great experience to build my confidence, learn about the world, different cultures, and everything. And I really liked it. As soon as I came back, I was planning to go back. I came for a break, finish my program, and I had a couple of offers and going to interviews I wanted to join the banks, but I was not sure. During the college years, I did banking internships and worked part-time for Deutsche Bank, Bankers Trust, and everything. And through most of my college mates from the same class, they became bankers because of me. I arranged internships. I convinced them this is a good career. Then I realized that when this desk job is not for me. I really needed something more. When I was in UK, especially, I started learning about internet, learning about what's going on in technology. I started even when I was a kid, I learned coding, but I never did it properly. I also sharpened my skills and all stuff. When I was doing that, I came back. I decided maybe I should go back to London and start looking for some technology companies. When I was in Istanbul for a short period of time, staying with a friend, I saw a job advertisement in the newspaper. There was no online career website or LinkedIn that time. So it was in English. They were looking for a product manager for an international American company, .com business, which came out of Boston and opening offices in Turkey. I just looked at it. It's a data company. They collect information, analyze information, put together into readable formats, usable formats into different programs, and sell it. And it's owned by Euromoney Group from UK. I heard about Euromoney, different circles and all that stuff. So I applied for that. It was only one. I said, like, if it doesn't happen, I'll go back to London and carry all these. Then next day they called me, and I went there just to have. I didn't have a single interview experience other than my previous ones. I wanted to also get some interview experience. I want to learn it. So it's not like I want to really join. And I checked it what they do. Before I go, I really like learning, and I really like what they were doing. I went to the interview. They've been looking for someone for the last 3 months, and they told me this is a tough job. There were lots of working hours, lots of traveling. What do I know about the company? And I told them exactly what I read about this, and I saw that I had some ideas. I said, like, maybe it can be done. It can be done. And the gentleman who was hiring me, he was the regional head for the product for this. This is a very interesting company. Came out of 1994, one of the first B2B data companies in the world, internet-based, established by a guy called Gary Mueller. He was a Harvard grad and undergrad both. His brother passed away recently. He is MIT grad. They got this idea opening up emerging markets. Gary used to work for Deloitte and Ernst & Young. And then in 1992, 1999, he found that Russia is opening up, but nobody has information about Eastern Bloc countries investing in these countries. So he created this company with the funding from himself, family, friends, Negroponte, those kind of like high level. It was the first very, very early days of angel investing, VC investing here. Then he sold the company in 1990, Euromoney Group, with a very strong exit. And he was still the chairman. I joined the company. I realized that there are lots of countries in the emerging markets like Middle East, Africa, Eastern Asia. They are not open still yet. We are talking about 1999, 2000, right? So I said, like, this is a great opportunity to learn about cultures, data, technology, information, making this. Then I told him about this. Then the gentleman who was interviewing me went out. The general manager also came in. We start. It was like a 1 hour. It became 3 hours. We start chatting and talking about different ideas. They said, like, okay, when are you starting? I was like, I need to see the offer first. And they told me, okay, you can start tomorrow. Here's the offer. I was expecting half of that salary. So they gave me a really strong offer on the table. I said, okay, where do I sign? I signed it literally. We finished the interview around like 4 or 5 p.m. I went home. I told the guys I found a job. I'm joining this. My friend was, are you crazy? What's going on? I said, I'm starting tomorrow, 9 a.m. I need to stay in your place. So I stayed with my friend around another 3 months. We shared rent, of course. Then I got my own apartment and left over. But this was a great experience. It's called ISI Emerging Markets, still owned by Euromoney Group. They changed the company structure. They have a product called EMIS, Emerging Market Information Solutions. So my job was first starting with Turkey. It was already established, but it was growing. So we used to go to any business content generator. Think about it, like the newspapers, the government record generators, like the legal business records, commercial register, the official gazette of the country, or like the company databases, or stock market information, or a small news agency in another city doing local information. We grab them on a loyalty basis. We call it royalty basis royalty basis revenue generation. We get their information. We digitize them. I used to go to these newspapers, like these data companies, market research agencies, government agencies, explain what internet is, give them a dial-up access, explain them how you connect the internet, literally, how they can send me the information. They send me the information sometimes in a disk, once a week, once a month. I used to go to there, put in the flash disk, they have big computers that we just There was no plastics in the flash. There were like these big containers. Put them in, get the information, and this is the dial-up into and how do they collect. Most of the time they cannot. It was like the time. Imagine that it was like pre-Google, pre-search engine. Even like Google doesn't cover 100% of the internet what's available online. It's maybe nowadays 20-30% of the internet growth. But that time it was like less than, I think, 2-3%, especially in emerging markets. And the local language. So we had created these engines, macro data and all the stuff, make standardized around like 20-30 countries. That was, I started with that one. I found myself like doing everything. Like it was a small office of like 8-9 people. But the good thing about this office was it was highly connected. They used to call them superstars. Most of the alumni of this office took roles outside the country. They went to Boston, London. We had 12 offices around the world. China, Hong Kong. We had an office in Beijing and Shanghai, Pune, Mumbai. We had Czech Republic, Prague. Then we opened most of them, like Moscow, for instance. So it became a really good melting pot. What I did is that I was looking at this after 3 years to my career. I found out that I really like to go and speak with clients. Our clients were Deutsche Bank, World Bank, HSBC, big, almost all the hedge funds worldwide, because they want alpha. When you access local information, local language on the internet, it's like big change. And these guys were investing into newly coming companies going public, IPOs, investing into or M&A activities. So we were helping them some intelligence they could never get if they were just going through Google and everything, Yahoo at that time. So it was really good. And I started learning about what these guys do, what kind of information they look for, where do they get this information. Then I realized most of them have no idea about what's going in the Middle East. So I convinced my boss, I sent him an email. I said, I want to create a Middle East product. It was Turkey done after 2 years. And we had I started around like 20-30 different information solutions. When I ended up, it was 1,000 something plus data and information sources in Turkey. So he said, okay, you can do it next week. Where are you going? I said, I'm going to Morocco first. And I was learning French. And during World Cup, 2002 World Cup, Turkey was playing as well. It was a good experience. I did the entire tour of Morocco, Tunisia, went to France. Lots of the data is for the still Francophone countries, because of the press and the censors and everything is based in France. So I did that one. Then after 3-4 months later, we built the Middle East data solution, and it started working very well. And I talked to my boss. I said, I need to be on the ground. He said, what do you mean on the ground? So I said, I want to be live in the Middle East. I want to go there, build the product, build a research team who speaks the local language, Arabic, French, whatever other languages. He said, okay, first come to London. So we went to London, which I said, I cannot do it in London. I have to be real on the ground. And they asked me which option. I gave them 3 options, Dubai, Beirut, and Cairo. And it was 2002. My boss was a lord, Lord Richard Lancer, and along with Neil Osborne, great guys. I really learned really good things about the business life from both of them. And both said, look, Dubai is a very small city. Nothing happens there. Main market, you should be either in Bahrain or Cairo. I said, okay, I'll go to Cairo. And I moved to Cairo.
So what made you pick Dubai at that point of time when you knew?
I went to Dubai in 2002, and I realized that the mindset is very different. It was a very small market, but I've been to all the markets by then, all the cities, Riyadh. I mean, and when I go to any city from London with a Euromoney card, Euromoney is a very interesting entity. It's originally a magazine, like a publishing house, but the core comes from Euromoney, Euro bonds. They used to be the marketing house for the Euro bonds. So I learned that through that they created these platforms, there are tens of thousands of bonds coming out of treasuries of different countries, and there are a limited number of investors. So you need to be on the top of your list, and these ranking systems, the conferences and everything, they create this very high level marketing engine, helping these governments go top of the list to get in the radar of these investment houses, investment analysts and managers. So Euromoney capital, and especially for emerging markets to the developed markets, they do create these bridges. So when I used to go to, let's say, Saudi Arabia, my boss sits down, he says, he closes his eyes and said, like, his assistant was Cat, write down, dear minister, so and so, my right hand Ahmed is coming to your country, helping your country become, and I was like 24 at that time, yeah, to help you open up and attract more FDI. So please help him about this endeavor, blah, blah. So I go to Riyadh, meet the Minister of Oil, Minister of Finance, the Governor of, and I was so scared because I was like, I never been to a meeting, forget about ministers, like at that high level. But when you go with the Euromoney card, it gives you that confidence. I used to stop over to Istanbul. I go there and buy some Turkish delight. Every time I go to like Riyadh, Egypt, any country I go, I used to go, one half of my luggage was like Turkish delights, like there's a brand called Divan, really nice box and everything. So I used to go to the meeting. I said, like, this is a gift. Oh, really nice. I bumped into a couple of those guys. Of course, those guys, most of them are retired now. But their chief of staff, their right-hand analyst in the meeting, and they became minister or something else. They remember me, they like the Turkish delight guy. So they said, like, used to come into ours. I remember that each time I go there. So it was really good experience to learn about the market in terms of very high level and also ground as well. And whenever I go to city, I get the blessing of the country, helping to look, we are doing something very interesting and it's good for your country, helping it open up to the international markets. And our goal was that, like, our main clients were sitting in London, New York, Paris, Frankfurt, Hong Kong. These are international fund managers, will never have access to this kind of localized data. And that was the bridge. Then in the due course in 2004, I realized we doing this. I was in Cairo doing the research. I hired around like 20 people to join. Then there was a journalist, editor of a local newspaper, Rafi Kuryan. I hired him to help me grow in the market, and I asked him to become the general manager as the Egypt office, because I was covering the business side of it. Then I realized that most of the business in the region, especially in the Middle East, in the banking finance sector, there is a very big focus into the Islamic finance. And there was no data available for Islamic finance. What is Islamic finance? What are the products, muawahas and musharakas and everything? Who is doing what? There is a very big growth market in Malaysia. Something is happening. It was just coming up. London, Islamic mortgages just coming up. UK, HSBC Amana was setting up. Then NCB that time, now SMB, the biggest bank in the region, becoming fully Islamic. There was some big movement. So I told this to my boss, and I told, look, I want to create this platform, and which I did within like 2-3 months with a team, super team actually, that coming from Malaysia, from Istanbul, from London and Cairo, and created a product called IFIS, Islamic Finance Information Solutions. It really helped me also grow in the region, GCC region, because there was a big tendency to go into the Islamic finance, like the fatwas, the legal infrastructure, in terms of the products, the technical accounting principles and everything. It was just coming up. There was, like, for instance, the economic principles between the GCC and Malaysia was very different. And there are some big countries like Iran, Sudan, fully Islamic, Pakistan. These are fully Islamic, but not to the extent like international open. So it really helped me go deep dive into a very interesting vertical. But it's a vertical that's so big. It's asset-backed finance, ethical asset-backed finance when you look at it. And it really helped me grow, especially in the God that moved me to Dubai, because I wanted to be in the region very close to the bankers. So again, 2 options, Bahrain or Dubai. I said, this time I'm going to choose. So
I'm very curious
moved
about something.
myself.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm listening to your story. One thing is really striking about how, at a very young age, you really had so much of clarity. You really knew what is it that you are chasing, uh, the kind of choices that you made. And I know you were a champion debater. You were excellent in studies. You were very social person. But what is it that you feel prepared you for the role that you stepped into, in terms of you having the clarity of thinking, and what is it that really prepared you in your younger years, let's say early years, growing up with your parents and your friends around? What were the choices that actually defined who you are today?
Look, there are many things. Of course, I think it's not only one. It's not about the person, myself, which I believe. I think it comes everything comes kind of a list, which is coming from your environment, your family, your peer cohort. So I was lucky. I grew up in a family. I was the eldest of my three brothers. We are four siblings. So being the eldest, I think may help because you need to take certain things on behalf of your brothers. I left home when I was 12 for a boarding school that I think really helped because I had to learn to stand on my foot when I was 12. And from the first week, I lost my pocket money, for instance. What do you do? So when you start figuring out, I remember very clearly. And it gives me a good sense of like during the boarding school years, 6, 7 years I stayed. The 1 year preparation it's an English and science program. So you learn English for 1 year only. Then you start grade one, secondary, and high school. And I think boarding school helps a lot. And also curiosity and having the right group of friends around you. Very curious. Most of these friends are way better than me in the life right now in terms of careers and everything. And I was very lucky to be in a very selective group of people, both sports and science and philosophy as well at the same time. And I was a very religious reader. I read a lot. I mean, I was literally at a very young age. We had lots of books at our home, and we didn't have much TV. There was only one channel, and on our program started around like 7 p.m. On Mondays I had the Superman, and Wednesdays I had another program. That's it. Like you just and so you need to either go play on the street or find something interesting. So we used to read encyclopedias, and there were lots of electricity cuts. So we used to like get the candle and read the books and play games and everything with my brothers and friends. So we grew up in a time that curiosity highly rewarded based on whatever available around. So that's why I really start reading different genres as well, not only like fiction, lots of non-fiction as well. So that really helped in terms of building confidence and being the eldest of the family, and also start getting around my friends. I think that there are, whenever a problem comes, and they used to come to me, or I used to be like always really, and it really helped me in terms of, it's not like something like I designed it by consciousness. I think I really like working and helping people or helping them solving certain problems and everything, because in the boarding school the environment pushes you to be there, and most of my friends are like that. I mean, when I look at that cohort, they are almost in the same mindset. They do fit into most of wherever they go socially very easily. They learn about, generally they are very successful in terms of executing things because they do things. Because when you are alone, you need to do things. You cannot just wait for your parents or your someone elder to come and show you. I think that pushed me to certain things, making my own decisions. I made lots of mistakes, of course. I think that's the part of the game that
Yeah.
you do choose. Among my college graduates, for instance, there were very few of them choose to do something outside the box, outside as an outlier, including myself. Like most of them became bankers or went to doing industrial engineering or engineering jobs in the manufacturing. And Turkey was booming that time. As you are like, Turkey is a very big pool, like the magnet. It was like growing, economy was growing. AKP's first years, they won the elections, and they needed lots of talent and everything. Making those decisions was very hard, and I had lots of offers to join lots of companies locally. They were headhunters, niche, and all this stuff. I found myself happier in an environment where I can do things. First of all, I work for an American company. It gives you lots of freedom in terms of leadership, in terms of incentives. That's the Boston culture, like the Western American culture. In the British, that's not that much control. Euromani was more like hierarchical and everything, but still, they gave me at the age of 24 to become the regional manager of an area, manage a P&L, hire like 40, 50 people, literally, most of them older than me, and build a business around this and learning about from literally scratch. I'll go to Cairo and set up a company at 24. How many people do that? Actually, it's interesting. When I was in Cairo, I finished 1 year, and Gary was a guest lecturer, Gary Mueller, the founder of the company I was working for, in Harvard. So I sent him an email. I said, like, I want to get a 1 year sabbatical or 2 year sabbatical and do an MBA or a master's in Harvard. And I'm planning to apply for it. I'm getting it. And he called me immediately. He said, like, are you crazy? I said, why? He said, look, everyone is going to Harvard to do what you are doing right now. So you're 24, managing 40, 50 people, setting up companies, we were buying companies. I was in the M&A team as well. There were 4 of us with my boss, CFO, and everything. I was like finding companies in South Africa, Eastern Asia, and approach them, help them, and buy companies so we can just merge them into our business. It's like everyone, like 1 year time when you go there, okay, you can do that. It will be good on your resume, but it will not take you to a better position that you're going to, and this job will not be ready. I mean, if I were you, I wouldn't do it, he said. And he's and he convinced me not to do it.
You said something which I have not heard before anyone articulated that way, where you said, reading built my confidence.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that a little bit more? How reading and confidence is interconnected for you?
Look, I think there is a certain level of chain of knowledge. At the end of the information is the chain, the neurons and synapses, they connect together, they create this bridge, and everything in that regard connected. When I started reading, number one, it gave me the confidence. First, reading, and not the books I'm talking about, liking the books, but liking the process, liking the reading itself. Like when you get into that.
What kind of books were you reading
flow,
at that age?
I read at the very early age, literally, I'll tell you, my father's bookshelf, I found one of the books I found was about general history, like Turkish history, about the First World War, Second World War, and everything. But also I found some books like the Steinbeck's, the Wreath of Grapes, and that kind of heavy books as well. And I read them, and like I was like going into that, of course, stages. And I really liked it. I liked it. Like it was first time I was reading a foreign author and everything, and also like some science fiction, like the original books of Dune, or like it was that first one was Foundation from Isaac Asimov and everything. So that first fiction, most of fiction and history, lots of history. Then I realized that as I read more, number one, I enjoy the process itself. Forget about the benefits of it. Because we were in a boarding school. The boarding school was not like a top-notch Eton College kind of stuff. It was like a boarding school. It was government sponsored. I was in a room with 24 other kids. This was a big room. We had like bunker beds. And it was in the winter, it gets down in that city it was not in like big city. It was my city, but east of Ankara. It was an old school, almost like a 700-year-old area in terms of education, coming from Ottoman years. But also in the last 200 years, that high school became like a boarding school for the elites of Istanbul narrative. But that school, in the winter, it becomes like minus 20, minus 25, very cold. So we used to go under like 3-4 blankets. I had this small flashlight, and it was like at night reading books. In that one, it was really good. Also, like, you're not allowed to read books at night. You need to go sleep at like 10, to like all that buzz and adrenaline. Then I realized that reading gave me the number one, more information, more knowledge, becoming like an expert on certain things, helping friends to put things in a different perspective. In an extent, I was reading and I was transitioning that knowledge, not consciously, of course. Like I became confident in my family, like my aunts, my uncles. I started going and chatting with them. They really liked I realize now they really like chatting with me and helping. And my father was also like, is like the counselor in the family. He's like eldest of his siblings. We have a very big family, and that really also set the stage for me in terms of how to convert that knowledge. What is that knowledge? Not consciously, of course. Like it gave me the confidence in the sense that I know things. There are known knowns. I know known knowns more than most of the other people. And I mean, if you read more, that can put you anywhere, best position in terms of life or anything that you do. Then who doesn't read at the end of the day? And I was like like two kids. There were two of us. The other one is in San Francisco. He works with VMware. We were the two of us. We go to the library, find these books, and exchange them, read them, take notes, like underwrite them, underline them, and everything. And that was first. It's still like when I went to the college, I was the only one among we were staying in a dormitory, government again. Like I was staying in my room that time, not 24, there were 6 people. 3 of them doctors, they became doctors. We stayed for 4 years together. They still studied 6 years. So I was the only one in my bunker bed. At the head, there was a bookshelf. I built my own bookshelf. I went to the carpenter because I want to like get my book, get the light and everything. It was allowed that time. You're a college student, like you're 18, 19, now you can go. So that really helped, and I really find myself. This is one of my dreams. Like if I retire, I want to open even like very old style bookshelf, the bookstore. That there is an area in Istanbul called Sahaflar. Sahaf means like the sahife comes from the Arabic word of the pages. So Sahaflar means the booksellers. Like in Baghdad, they have one. In Istanbul is a very old one, like 300, 400 years. Whenever I used to go there, because of the smell or the books, I found myself very happy. I realized that around the books and information and that knowledge and everything, libraries, like for instance, I find myself very happy when I go to a library. Like I was in Oslo this summer with kids and everything. We spent in Oslo, there's really very nice old libraries as well. And we went all the city, we did the Viking tours and everything. And I went, for instance, one of the biggest libraries in Europe is in Oslo. So we spent quite 2-3 days in the library as well, like going around there and going in. So it was very interesting. It shaped a lot. It's still shaping my family's life in terms of reading. And that confidence comes from, I think, knowing that what you don't know, it really helped me. That's capable. That really showed me what are those gaps and realize that there is no ending to this. Like knowing what you know at least, and also having the tool and liking that process. Whenever I need, I can go and build that knowledge by myself. Like learning that you can self-teach yourself certain things through this tool, like the reading tool. And that really that confidence came from in terms, if I don't know the subject, I can go and always spend proper time on it. And if I can delve into it, I'm not going to call like 10,000 hours or anything, but you can spend enough time to go into a certain topic and learn about it. So I think that's the reason for the seed for the confidence.
Beautiful. When you went for that interview, that first interview, and they hired you, this George Mueller and his team, where they came and hired
Gary,
you.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gary, I don't know if you have asked them this question, but have you asked them this question? Why are you hiring me? What do you see in me? You trust me so much and give me huge responsibilities like this? What is it that you see in me?
I did. They asked me another question. They said, why don't you go and work with Koç Holding, Sabancı Holding? These are the biggest holdings of Turkey. And I could really go and work. I had a job offer from Garanti Bank, the biggest bank, which I am on the board of Dogus Group right now, who used to own Garanti Bank. I mean, advisor to the chairman said he's the. But that time they asked me the same question, the other way around. I asked them. They told me they've been looking for a product manager for the last 3 months. They couldn't find. Number one, it was either English or the knowledge of the market and everything. But most of it came to the point that they need someone who can do self-start, who has some grit, who can do who has some entrepreneurial skills, which I was not an entrepreneur at that time, but I was like doing certain things myself, like finding an internship, going to UK, living there by myself 1 year, doing this, then, etc. When we had that conversation, and I was doing like at the age of, I was 22, and also like I taught myself programming, computer sciences, internet. When I was in UK in the last 6 months, I started reading every day in the library Financial Times. So I used to go there, sit down, get my coffee, read my Financial Times. As a student, it's a good luxury. I'm like, and I started learning a lot about how the markets at least work, who is who, and all this stuff. And they told me that basically they couldn't find a single candidate specifically fitting in this. They are not sure if I fit fully, but it looks like you can do this, you can learn about this, and we will teach you. Are you ready? I said, like, of course, I'd love to learn. And it was like this for about a month. I became the student to protege to the regional manager and the CEO at that time. And from the point, I didn't know how to use Outlook, for instance. I never used Outlook. I used to use Hotmail. Right? So at that time, it's still at Hotmail. And the manager that I used to report, Abdullah, a great guy, competent, one of the brightest in his field, he showed me how to analyze your own information and categorize them, like the contacts, tag them, link them, where you met them, all that notes. Still, I'm 46 now. It's been 24 years, I said. I still use the same system of whenever I meet someone, I have in my contacts, I have around like 16,000 contacts. I keep it like Samir GP, I met him 10th of September 2023. It was about this Awesome Walkers podcast. He's from India. He wanted to live in Istanbul 2000. I put all those notes after this. And his son's name is this, his daughter's name is this, kind of like, remember. That really happened. It's still using the data system. I was taught by him that time. It was not that, he didn't teach me the full, but I created my own system around it. But it was like him sit down with me for half an hour, 1 hour, spend with me. This is how you use, I knew how to use Excel and Word and everything. I was the only one who know how to use Excel in the college because there was no Excel that time. There was no internet. And I was working with a professor who I became an assistant to him, who I asked again, like first day of the school, they assigned me a teacher. I went to this teacher in the college. I introduced myself, and he said, "Where are you from?" and etc. etc. He said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Look, I don't know what I want to do. I want to learn. How can I improve myself? Can you help me?" I asked this question to the prof. He said, "Like, okay, do you really want to improve yourself?" I said, "Yes." Go and read this book. He gave me a book, this thick, about Microsoft, like Word, Excel, and everything. I went to the library, the computer library at that time. There was no internet came in the year after, and the IT, our technology department was the first in Turkey, in Ankara and in Istanbul. There were two universities selected, 1994, 1995. The internet library, I think it was one of. So I went there. I learned it. I went back within like 2 weeks. I said, like, I learned it. He tested me. He said, "Are you real?" So I said, "Yeah." Then he said, "Okay, come on Saturday." I was like, imagine 18 years old. He said, like, on Saturday, do you have a jacket? I said, "I don't have a jacket." He said, like, "Do you have a shirt?" I said, "Yeah." "Get your cleanest shirt and your shoes shine. Come to this hotel at 9 a.m. on Saturday." Okay, I went to this 5-star hotel, found him. He said, like, "Let's go up." I was like, "What's going on?" Then we went to this business meeting rooms. He said, "Okay, now you are my assistant." And that day he was giving private course to a big company. And when it was about project management, agile management, Kaizen, he was a professor about that. And he was giving, and I became his assistant. Like, we didn't have the presenter, like the PowerPoints. There were these printouts, like these plastic you put on the
Yes, I know.
device with lighting it.
Overhead
I can't
projector.
recall the name. Yeah, the
OHP.
projector, but the manual one. I was gonna change it, put that
Yeah.
one, and ask him notes and everything.
Transparent slides. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, print slides exactly. So That really, like, in terms of when you look at it, the experience, I asked about the same thing about, I asked about this, and that learning, and some people around me, I was lucky to teach me, like that professor, that manager, and right people. It's not about me only, that when you can ask, but if you don't have the right person around you, I don't think that can help
Yeah.
as well. So that was the real factor, I think, that's really guided me in the right direction.
Uh, Listening to your story, the one reason what I see in this whole narrative, why they perhaps hide you, and I'm saying this from an audience perspective because someone listening to this podcast, if they see what is it that as a strategy that they can take and implement in their lives for success, the success uh, principle that I'm seeing in your story is you leaned into your curiosity constantly with a sense of determination and purpose to actually find answers. You're not only being curious, you actually leaned into your curiosity uh, much more driven. And I think that's what they saw in you as well.
Yeah, when after it is done, you can, I think you can put that definition
Yeah.
backwards as a framework. But I think what really is the chance, what really creates this context, um, I believe that at the end of the day, if you have more options, you have a better chance, right? So
Yeah.
that was the main element. I mean, there is nothing around what I did, and I don't think, I don't call it success, though, by the way. I don't call any all the things I call it success, but I think it's a very long journey, and in the life principles perspective, whatever you achieve in that sense, comparatively to the others, maybe you can call it success if you define success in that regard. But in the sense of your journey, that it's part of your journey as much as your failures are. And the only thing that creates that positive experience around it, I think if you create more options. For instance, I was the only one going to his professor during that time. I wanted 100 students. I realized later that asking that, how can I improve myself? Can you help me?
Mm.
And I was genuinely asking, because I'm a new graduate coming from a very small town. All the boarding, it's first time I'm in a city like Istanbul, living by myself, no one around, again, boarding school. And I needed help.
And what made you so
And
hungry to succeed?
because I wanted to learn. I mean, I wanted to do things, and I was curious as well. I wanted to learn. I always, like, whenever I go to conversation, I was very curious about learning the other person as well, and it really helped me. With the professor as well, I realized that if I ask questions that I can get help, like mentors and everything, that will really help me. It's a gut feeling as well. And then that really changed literally on my education years. In the second year, in the same professor, that professor started going into our project management lessons as well in our class. And he assigned me the assistant, literal assistant. I was reading my friends, my girlfriend, everyone, like exam papers. My girlfriend that time is my wife now, so I can't come. She knows the details. So literally, I was like, because the teacher was sick, he said like, okay, the exam is done. Can you go to and I had the key to his room. He said, I need to give these notes. I said like, okay, do you want me to bring you the papers at home? He said, no, I want you to give the notes. Read them if they're right and give the note. And I said like, how? And I cannot do it. Like, so then he said like, do it. And then I did it. I gave like good grades, bad grades. Like, I tried to be like non-biased, but it was that confidence, that relationship
Yeah.
that you build. And I was lucky to have people around me during
Yeah.
all those years, since until today, who are in a way better position than me to trust me certain things and build that relationship. And luckily, most of the cases, most of those times, I managed to deliver that trust back, like the work up to the level of expectation, at least in an honest way. Even if I fail, they know that I'm genuinely doing this. And I think the most important part is there is a word in Arabic called ihsan. Ihsan means doing certain things in the hasana, in the perfection. And ihsan comes from, there is only one thing I think human beings are coded into them, is the intentions. And then that intention in Arabic is the juzi irade, like the small intention that you are embedded into your soul and everything. If you don't push that asking, in the case of prayers or whatever it is, etc., that it doesn't come to you, right? So you need to push for those small intentions as well. So that, or niya, it's called Arabic as well. So that intention was the main idea. If you, I could have gone to the canteen, have my tea, play cards with my friends rather than going to my professor's room and wait, play with all 99% of all my friends. They were killing time in a different way. Well, I was doing reading books, going to this hotel at 9 a.m. on Saturday, 8 a.m. on Saturday, preparing this stuff. It was not fun comparing to the others, but for me, it was something else. I really liked it, and I liked that process as well. I think that creates that positive difference in terms of to the others.
Your sons, you have two boys,
Son and daughter.
son and daughter. They live in a world of distractions now. They no
Yes.
more have just one channel. They no more have just one uh, device. They have so
Yeah.
many distractions. They have so many social. Uh, as a parent, how do you uh, amplify their journey?
That's harder than your own, to be honest with you. But both of my kids, son is 13 now, he's turning 14 very soon, and the daughter is 9. So they were born into this. I was not born into this. I know the previous, I can compare. I know what feels like the pre-internet, pre-multiple screen times, how it worked. Saying that, most of my age group adults also like kept into this metaverse, literal metaverse, but in the wrong sense. I'm like living in their Instagrams and social media. The kids is hard because at the end of there is a certain chemical reaction happening in their brain that all those hormones and everything, when they see the screen, and if you show it to 1-2 months old baby, even like got frozen because of the dopamine, like all the hormones kicking in as soon as they see the color screen and all the stuff. So there's an addiction element into that. So you need to break that element. What we are trying to do is that, number one, there is a reward mechanism we try to build. My wife is very strongly focusing on that element as well. I'm very lucky in that sense. She's way deeper than me in terms of in that psyche and everything. But having siblings and working around, and I've been, before our first son born, we start reading a lot. Now I'm reading more about like puberty, like what happens in the kid's body in terms of when they get from the age 11, 12, going up to like 22, 23, which we thought it was our hormones. There are other things happening we didn't realize. So I'm learning about it, but I learned one thing only around that. Around this multi-diversity, if you don't funnel them into something that is not distracted around this noise, and teach them how to, in terms of when you're studying, you need to be one thing on your table. You cannot have like two things. You cannot distract it like this. If you're studying something, you only do that. You cannot eat, listen to music, at the same time look into your phone and everything. It has to be one thing at a time, one thing on the table. I think that principle is working so far well. Like if you are, as the kids grow, that, and I see that myself as when I'm working, I try to do as well. Your phone starts getting like blipping. You have a WhatsApp message here. You have an email. I turn off all my notifications. Whereas I deleted most of the social media except Twitter. I don't do Instagram. I don't do Facebook. I don't do others, and etc. I found them very big distractions. Only Twitter, in a sense that because of knowledge gathering, there's a certain news source and everything. And I saw for my kids as well, they do have very strict screen times. And there is a weekly element to that, playtime as well, the weekend time. We believe that there is a big element of the free play, that they need to be among their peers. They need to learn about what's going on around them, etc. We don't limit them in that sense, but there is a limit to everything. screen times, there's a limit and everything. And there's a family time, there is a certain level of dinners, and there's a routine around it. We are still learning, of course. There is no perfect formula around this. But I think we managed to do well in the sense of kids. They are both our readers, like actual book readers, not only iPads or like Kindles and everything. And taking notes and everything, and focusing on certain things around when it's in front of them. They realize that it's important in their world as well. And it's not just like we are teaching them; they are teaching themselves. Because they're coming to an age right now. They are taking the input from us, but the output is not always the same input. They're processing certain things in their own way, and you need to respect that. I mean, you need to find the flow. If there is a big difference around what you are doing and what you think that in principle, right? You need to understand their perspective because they have a view, and these kids have a very strong view on certain things, way more advanced than what we think. I mean, like my daughter is 9, my son is like 13. I'm looking at myself. I learned reading when I was like 7. My daughter reads a book a day, literally, almost. Sometimes, like, gets a book, very excited, finishes same day. Like, and these are like very thick books, at least like 3-4 weeks a week, like minimum. These are mostly nowadays only books about horses, but nothing else. But still, these are books. like there are some really thick books and everything. And at that age, I mean, forget about reading books. You are just learning about. So they are so advanced in terms of grasping this knowledge, accessing. One thing I'm trying to, at least if I can leave them with one thing only, I would leave them with not all these frameworks, but leaving them with self-teaching ability. Like if they can get out of this world in terms of focus whenever they need to, and grasp the knowledge of how to grasp the knowledge of learning and enjoy that learning process, that I think they are safe. Otherwise, I mean, I cannot give them of course, there is a certain worldview, there's a certain family values, there's a certain philosophy around our life growing and everything when you think about most of the stuff. But there are bigger frameworks around it, and those frameworks get into their personal framework. You have your own freedom within that framework. Within that framework, getting them ready for the life they are getting into, which is going to be way more than I perceive right now, because my perception is that. So I think I'm more concerned about the first principle, giving them the right foundational stones that they can build whatever they need to around. If they are strong, that it can stand to anything that they can, and that's my worry at the end when it comes to kids, basically.
Wow. I just looked at the time and realized it's an hour right now. We've been talking and we have not even touched
Yeah.
on fintech and none of that stuff. But this has been so valuable. And the last thing that you just said hit me so hard because it also connects everything that you've been speaking about your own personal life and how you have grown in this journey. And my question, what is it that you want to leave with your kids? Your answer from what you shared, really uh, what really resonated with me was the fact that you want to uh, lead them by example. You want to lead them by demonstrating things and seeing in you qualities so that they will actually imbibe those. And if you were to articulate it, you articulate it where it is about the ability to learn things quickly on your own. And if each one of us did that, I feel we all become unstoppable because we can pick any topic, and if we are willing to learn it, then we'll be successful.
Absolutely.
uh, Amazing. Any parting shots, anything that you would want to wrap up this entire conversation? What is it that you uh, feel like would be a valuable insight from this conversation or from your life per se, that if you had to give one message, what would that be for you?
One message is very hard one. It's like the Tim Ferriss's these board messages. Look, I really believe in the philosophy that there is beyond to this life. That's number one. And there's a certain level of the knowledge gathering, the life itself, the experience, there is an element into that. If you see everything in the learning perspective, learning glasses in terms of failures and success, it changes the perspective. What I mean is that when you fail, you don't internalize that much. When you succeed, you don't highlight it that much. I think, given what in the sense of what I'm learning in my life as well, you being humble enough and seeing yourself as a student of life changes the perspective and helps in most of the corners. Because and again, like, I'm not calling this as a success, it's more about like the positive experiences. And if you want to increase those positive experiences and create a hedonistic environment in terms of happiness, and I think more than happiness, actually, the calmness and that balance is more important than anything else. In that regard, I think it's very important to create an environment. I can only humbly say that stay as a student of life for everyone that's around me. That's it.
Beautiful. I see so many similarities in our stories, including the bookshelves at the back of us, but also going to boarding school at 12, the flashlight under the blanket. There's so many
Interesting.
beautiful connections that I see that are overlaps, but the things that you have, which I was not fortunate enough, was the kind of people that I was surrounded with, because of which I navigated a completely different terrain. And I would also, as a result of this conversation, if any of the listeners over here listening to, I would say be mindful about the people that we surround ourselves with, and just be conscious if we can make a choice to make those conscious decisions. Because when we are being a student of life, if you're surrounded by the right kind of teachers, the right kind of environment, it makes a huge difference. Ahmed, it has
Absolutely.
been an absolute pleasure being with you this morning. Really, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much. Thanks for hosting me. Thanks, Samir. Take care.
God bless.
Bye bye. Take care.
Bye bye.